Squad, get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a pair of viewer submitted KV-5 replays. Now these are two that I've picked out because they share a couple of common features which I will point out as we go along. This is the first one. This is from EverBS1234, who is on his own. This is the Siegfried Line encounter battle, and it's a game where there are some tier 9s, but actually it's only 4 per team. It's not terrible matchmaking otherwise. One of the things I want to point out that both these replays will have in common is their use of premium ammo. Now when you come across a KV-5 player, expect, especially if you're in something with not terrible armour, wow, that early ammo rack, that they will be carrying a decent amount of APCR, and they probably will fire some of it at you, because 167 pen, it's one of the main weaknesses of the KV-5, along with the massive glaring weak spots. Now, he takes up this position because he thinks, okay, there's some stuff on the field, maybe I can get some shots in, but, well, look what's going to happen next. That T-43 tried to get forward, got annihilated. The Panther got annihilated, that KV-4 just got annihilated, so I think we can conclude that there are a fair few things still sitting on the field shooting in this direction. Yeah, that KV-4 did not last long at all. In theory, the KV-4's actually got better armour because it doesn't have the huge glaring weak spots. But, yeah, that one, when it's out in the open, it was a very sad KV-4. The KV-3, that guy, I don't know, he's just sitting there. The WZ is probably the one that spotted EverBS here, so he's backing up, he's keeping his tank at an angle, but he's already lost like 400 hit points. It's not particularly great. And they're already starting to be a bit aggressive on this side. There's an IS there already, so he's got to be careful, because yes, these other guys are sitting at long range, but he has got a great honking big ass weak spot on the front of his tank for them to shoot at. That is not a small target, the Radio Man binnacle, so that's something you have to be careful of even at long range with the KV-5. Oh, and there's some stuff in the middle there as well, including a T-30, so he's going to have to be careful about that. So there's the IS, who, yeah, good luck penning the frontal armour with that gun. I think he was aiming for the Radio Man binnacle, but actually just managed to miss because he was on the move. And that one bounces, fortunately. He hasn't lost any more hit points apart from that noob T-71 firing APCR. I mean, wow, such noob, such noob. There's the Carnarvon out on the field. Not quite sure why the Carnarvon's out on the field, because that only Carnarvon spawned over in the kind of 1 point. But it's not like there's anybody to spot them on the field, but anyway. So he kept that IS tracked and pinned, finished him off. This does have a pretty good rate of fire. It's probably got one of the best rate of fires for any tier 8 heavy tank. Now he's going for the lower front plate there, but he's actually switched to premium now because he knows this gun is not accurate. He's also slightly worried that you don't want to get a T-30 shell in the side of the turret, and he turns his turret just at the right time to bounce that T-30 shell. So he's going to take out this T-30, and now he's switched to the premium. And this is one of the things that both replays will have in common, is that both of them do use a fair few premium shells, but they use them quite intelligently. They use them against targets that they actually need. So he's shooting a premium shell at the side of the Carnarvon, but he knows the Carnarvon's armour at this range, so he switched back to AP. And this is what I mean, pay attention to the ammo type. So there was a Carnarvon that was probably using the food consumable in place of a fire extinguisher, because he just burned out for, oh, most of his health. Yes, that was rather unlucky. Clearly he didn't have the crew skill that puts out fires either. Now this is 5-7, I mean, it's not looking like a loss, but EverBS is kind of out on a limb here. He's sort of on his own. So he's now backed up to the city where there is a bit more cover. The Panther that I think he bounced a few shots from that Panther. The Panther 2, he's actually now closed the distance. But again, Ever is going to do something a bit clever here. I think he's going for the axle, but that's a bit of a snapshot. He's going to take a hit, and he does, but there we go, one in the tracks. This Panther 2 is now also pinned, and he's now going to clean this guy up easy. Now, this is an APCR shell. I think at this point he's just not switched back because he just hasn't realised he's still got APCR loaded. You really don't need it. And there we go, he's realised. So back to the AP. He also clearly wants to make a profit, and this is why intelligent use of premium ammo, even in something like the KV-5, which has got fairly weak pen, it's not like you have to use it all the time. And if you use it intelligently, you can make a healthy profit. Because of this is, of course, a premium tank. And look how much damage he's done, by the way. 4.6k. Can he squeeze a bit more out of this battle? He's taken a hell of a battering on this flank. In fact, for a lot of the battle, he has been this flank. He's been the object of focus for quite a lot of the enemy team. So he's come through that quite nicely, and for most of that he's done that through I've done a review on the KV-5, and I think I point this out, that the KV-5 works kind of best at medium to long range most of the time, but sometimes you want to close the distance. Of course, that makes it then even easier for enemies to get your weak spots, but it's just one of those things. So there we go, he gets a bit more damage out that T95, another 850, and we finished the battle with over 5,000 damage in a KV-5. That's pretty decent. So I'll have a quick look at his score, and he, unsurprisingly, came at the top of his team. There was a bit of a damage drop-off. Him, the ST1, IS6 all had fairly reasonable scores. The M103 did an okay amount of damage. The rest of the team was not particularly great. In fact, we had a couple of people that did nothing at all. The four that got annihilated at the very, very beginning of the match just obviously, you know, didn't do any damage. But otherwise, no, he did pretty well out of that. He had 1700 base XP, high caliber steel wall, mastery badge, damage blocked by armor 4190, not too shabby. And this is a 9.0 replay, so this is the new, it's not the old potential damage, it's damage blocked by armor, so it doesn't count stuff that went in his tracks and that kind of thing as well. So that was good. That was a good KV-5 performance. It was solid. It had intelligent use of premium ammo. It had good use of tracking tactics. So can we better it? Oh, I think we can. So this is our second replay, courtesy of Vonnis, or possibly Vonnis. We are now looking at an 8.9 replay, so it is the older version of the Northwest map. And it's actually better matchmaking than last time, in that he's top tier, there's not that many enemy heavies, but the enemy team, I mean, we're going to take, this is actually me re-recording the audio, so in a second we'll see the team list. The enemy team has actually got 2 more tier 8s than this team. They have a 30 and a Jagdpanther 2, that are the equivalent apparently of a Black Prince and a KV-3. But that only really matters if they are, I mean, it can have an impact, but the player skill always has a bigger impact in these kind of circumstances. Although occasionally the matchmaking can give you just such a duff hand that you really can't do anything. Anyway, he's taken an early hit there, but for some reason my damage indicator didn't register that. Not sure why. Also, watch what this AC-46 is about to do. This AC-46 really gets on Vonnis's goat. So he shoots the 112, that was in the upper front plate, never going to pen. This AC-46, this is exactly what you never ever do. You don't sit behind a tank like this, you don't block them so that they are unable to go forwards and backwards. You don't bump into them when they're aiming to take shots. That is incredibly bad play. And if you're in a tier 7 tank, if you've managed to get to tier 7 and you are still doing it, then frankly you are not a good player, and you need to go away and you need to look up some guides, and you need to not do really obvious things like bash into friendly tanks when they're trying to take shots and block them. So you can see there Vonnis getting pretty annoyed with that guy, and apparently he said in his email, in his description of the replay, that he'd had problems with that in previous matches on the day that he'd been playing. So he was about at the end of his tether with this guy, and really can't blame him, because that's just incredibly irritating any time it happens. Again, just, yeah, I don't know, that's such an elementary thing, yet people do it. So he's kind of alone now, kind of. He does actually have some fire support from a Rheinmetall that's back up in D0. There's also an IS-3 there, and I don't want to pick on this IS-3 too much. His end result is actually going to be decent, but his early map positioning here, that's not where you go in an IS-3. You don't go and sit next to a tank destroyer and snipe. And you will see that that Rheinmetall is definitely going to have a better result than the IS-3, but the IS-3 is still going to do okay. There's hope for that guy, I'm going to say this, but his map positioning skills clearly need a little bit of work. However, having said that, he is still going to contribute to the team, so I'm not trying to get down on that one guy too much. So there we go, he's actually switched to the premium rounds now because this is kind of a crunch situation. He is going to be a lot less careful about using premium than ever BS was, and he does acknowledge that himself in the email that he sent me. There are a couple of times, especially towards the end of the match, where he ends up firing premium when he really doesn't need to. But even ever BS had one or two moments, or one or two shells that he fired, which were premium shells that absolutely didn't need to be. So he's side-scraping off this corner here. It's unfortunate that he's having to side-scrape on this side, because, of course, that's where his radio man binnacle is, which is, yeah, it's always fun trying to hide that. KV-1X, APCR shell, not really necessary, but he thought he was going to shoot the 112, and if you have a shot like that, you take the shot that you've got, basically. He's also had some help from Artie on this flank as well, I should point that out. It's not like he's been totally alone here. He's actually been fairly usefully occupying the enemy attention and being able to do some damage as well, whilst his teammates have been shooting those guys. However, a wild Type 59 appears, so he's got to turn around and take care of this. The rest of the team, I mean, it's not looking great, it's now 5-9. The rest of the team just collapsed pretty hard, and Vonnis really doesn't have any choice except to turn around and go back to the cap and try and defend the cap a bit. The IS-3 is obviously still there, he's obviously still full health, but I don't think we can count on him to carry. He's obviously an okay player, but I'm not going to say he's an amazing player by any chance. The Rheinmetall's obviously also still there, but the Rheinmetall is a very fragile tank in comparison to an IS-3. So Vonnis has lost some health, but he's actually not doing too badly. That Carnarvon, the friendly Carnarvon, we don't get to see it directly, at least we don't get to see it directly when he's alive. He's actually gone down that slope, and I don't know why, and he's gotten himself stuck, which is a thing that you could do. You might still be able to in places on the northwest map, but at that point there were, along that north ridge, if you go down it's particularly easy to get yourself stuck, and you can just about see there. The E25 has also gone down there, the enemy E25, thinking, aha, it's a Carnarvon, I can go down there, I can kill it, and then I'll be able to get out. And hey look, a T-44 has joined in the party as well. You can just see off in the distance there. Now, they've also gone down to the point where that Carnarvon was. Do you think they'll be able to get themselves free, or do you think they also have just gotten themselves stuck? I guess we'll see. That IS-3 really did not react nearly quickly enough to go and save friendly artillery to take out that Type 59. He's now engaging the guy, but he was just way too slow to get on the move there, especially when he has full health. The Hellcat is the only other tank that's left, and that's basically where he's going to be for the rest of the match. The Hellcat, for whatever reason, quit out of the battle. And I don't know if he was also stuck. He might have been. It's a bit hard to tell. We don't get a good close-up view of that guy. But it is now basically down to 3 tanks, even though there's 4 left on the friendly team. 6-11. If we can stabilise this, there might be a chance, because the remaining tanks, these remaining 3 tanks, have got, between them, a decent health pool. Vonnis obviously has got, I'm going to say decent armour. You know, the KV-5, you can't say it's got great armour. It does in some ways, but in other ways it really doesn't. Now, unfortunately, that was an APCR shell that he just wasted, tracking a 1375. He doesn't have a silhouette, but he loads up an AP and takes out the guy. And then he's back to the APCR because he thinks he might have a Jagdpanther 2 to deal with. And he doesn't know for sure. I'm going to guess that he doesn't know for sure that the E25 and the T44 are stuck. I've been able to make that, well, I say guess. I made the guess watching it the first time through, and then I had it confirmed by knowing what the result of the battle is. But of course, Vonnis might not know that. Maybe he made a guess, maybe he didn't. But a VK3001P has appeared behind and downslope, and Vonnis is in a KV-5. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Because I know what Vonnis is thinking. Oh yeah, ramming speed! He puts a shell into him for like 300, rams in for another nearly 500, and instead of firing again, because he's still got APCR loaded, he's going to try and... Oh, ha! Nope, IS-3, nope, you cannot has ram, only KV-5 can has ram. Now the IS-3 at this point sets off for the middle of the map. I'm not sure why. It's going to turn out to be fortuitous, but I don't think it was entirely planned. I'm not quite sure what he's got in mind. I think he's just got in mind that he's going to go to the enemy cap. Now at this stage of the game, that doesn't seem like a terribly bright idea, just looking at the team list. But that T-44 and E-25 still haven't been spotted, so we can guess maybe they are actually stuck. There's the enemy 88 spotted for the first time, probably by the IS-3. So the IS-3 is actually going to... unfortunately that shot bounced. But the IS-3 is actually going to be... he's going to make a good move. He's going to drop down behind the 88 to take that guy out. We also have just spotted the 30, who maybe was going to flank round that IS-3. Obviously he didn't know Vonnis was there. That's given Vonnis at least one free shot at his side armour. He didn't need APCR for the side armour, but for the frontal armour at this range, this is not a good gun for hitting weak spots. And it's only 230 metres, but at this range, no, you cannot rely on this gun to hit weak spots at all. So he's going to finish off the 30, and he was able to jiggle round, and even bounced one shot. Oh, yeah, Panther 2. One does not simply ram a KV-5. It's not a done thing. Even in an E50M, it probably would be not a great idea. So he takes that guy out, who was fortunately low health. There's now just a Hellcat here, which is not really problematic at all. I suspect that IS-3 can take the 88 without any problems. I think the Rheinmetall is also shooting the 88. So that just leaves the Hellcat. Now he could have switched to AP, that would have cost him a couple of seconds, but look at the timer, we're getting to the 5-minute mark. So I don't know, he could have easily switched to an AP or an HE there, but instead he just decided to take the financial hit, go with the shell that he had. Now we switch to AP because you really don't need APCR for a Hellcat. I mean, you really don't. And he's going to shoot the guy. Unfortunately, a bit slow on the reaction there. The Hellcat's able to just jink forward and dodge that shot entirely. I'm not quite sure why he's being cautious here. He can just go for it, but on the other hand, the Hellcat can outdounce the KV-5 with absolutely no problem. But the Hellcat wasn't in a really great position to do that, so that was a fairly easy kill for Vonnis. That 88 is down, and it's now just artillery and the two tanks that we think might be stuck. The IS-3, he's going to go sit on the cap, and the normal instinct is to criticise someone for capping in this situation, but the IS-3 may have absolutely no clue that, you can see there Vonnis starting to finally feel a bit optimistic, because they've turned this around completely. The IS-3 may not even be using Minimap mods. You know, we can't assume that he knows what I know, what I can see, the last spotted position, that they went down where the Carnarvon was. He may have not been paying attention to that at all. So he doesn't know. And we are getting down to it on time, and artillery is probably still around where the enemy cap is. So my instinct initially was to criticise that guy for going to the cap and sitting on the cap. But actually no, it was, under the circumstances, the right thing to do. It's what you do if you're not sure of the outcome and time is running out like this. You don't want to spend the remaining 3 minutes chasing down enemy tanks when you don't know where they might be. It's always, if it looks like it's going to be an iffy outcome, then taking the safer route is often the better option. So Vonnis is heading along this north ridge, and he's going to see if he can see if they're still along here. If they are down where they were last spotted, he's going to auto spot them any second now. And there we go, he does. Now, this is the last two tanks, apart from artillery, that we can see the IS-3 has found. So I'm honestly not quite sure why Vonnis doesn't just barrel right down on top of this T-44. I don't know. Maybe he was worried that he'd get to a point where... That's unfortunate, that bounced. that he kills the T-44 and then is unable to shoot that E-25. He does make a move, and you think, oh, he's going to ram again, but he kind of does. But that was only 200 and whatever damage, so it wasn't great. That E-25 is practically on its... I can't even tell. It looks like it's on its side, pretty much. I don't know. It's hard to tell from this angle, but that guy was very firmly wedged. I don't think even either of these people were... Either they tabbed out or they'd gone back to garage or whatever, because they're just not reacting at all. But they've been stuck there for most of the battle. So there we go. Last kill. He's got 9 kills out of that. He's secured that last bit of damage. We've won by killing instead of capping, which is always more satisfying, I feel. But no, I don't think that IS-3 did the wrong thing there, actually, in retrospect. And if we look at the team list, Vonnis had a really good result, 2,063 base XP with 5.6, nearly 5.7k damage, 2.3k spotting and assistance damage. The Rheinmetall was next with 4.4k, and then the IS-3 who actually did 2,200. And the rest of the team we can see were pretty bad. Nobody did over 1,000 damage, and we had a number of people that did 0 damage, including that AC-48 who didn't, the AC-46 even, who didn't even fire a single shot. That guy's sole contribution to the team was to block Vonnis and then get himself killed. So I don't know what that guy was thinking. I don't know how you get to tier 7 and still drive tanks like that, but some people do. And we see there the Hellcat at the very bottom because he obviously quit to garage at some point quite early on. So yeah, that was a good result. He got out of that his mastery, a Radley-Walters, a steel wall, a top gun, and a sniper medal. Sniper's not that easy in a KV-5, and despite the fact that he was a bit more profligate with his use, a bit less careful with his use of APCR, he still walked away with 100,000 credits. So you get 100,000 credits with premium and 3k XP with premium. That's not to be sniffed at ever. That is a pretty good result. And it was a much closer result. The enemy team kind of gave that away. I mean, you have to... Vonnis, if you're in his position, you still have to play smart. You have to take advantage of the enemy team making mistakes. But what happened was, 2 of the enemy team got stuck, including 1 top tier. The rest basically fragmented and appeared in dribs and drabs, which is the absolute worst thing to do in this circumstance. And then we had a couple that might have been a threat, which either did no damage or they turned up, like the Jagdpanther 2, being such low health that it really didn't matter. So he was actually able to really nicely take advantage of that situation, and he had some good bounces with the KV-5's armor as well. But he was lucky there, but there's always that thing of, even if you get a lucky set of circumstances with World of Tanks, you can still mess it up if you don't play smart. And I think Vonnis did actually play that reasonably smart in the end there. He prioritized his targets quite well. He moved around the map pretty well. I mean, he drove over 2.5 kilometers in a KV-5. He just generally did most things right in that, and he got a pretty nice reward out of it. So if you enjoyed both these replays, you can leave comments below, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.